incredible resource marketing for this industry, not only our industry in the building industry. I came from corporate America, and Shelton Group is one of the most respected advisors around sustainable brands. So please help me welcome Suzanne Shelton.
Thank you, sir. We'll do cards later. It's all good. I told a few of you already, I'm from the not so great state of Tennessee, and we are #1 in COVID. So later, if you see me put my mask back on, it's not because I'm afraid of you, it's because I'm afraid for you that I may be carrying something and I don't even know that I'm doing it. So welcome, I'm glad y'all are here. We're gonna do some insights, and I'm gonna do my best to make that exciting and fun, because I know research and data can sometimes be like, glaze over. So we're gonna try to make it fun. There's a lot we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about some general national data that we see, and then we're gonna get really specific with some data that we're now pulling with buyers of high performance homes. So this should be pretty interesting. You have already figured out I'm the fastest talking Southern woman you've ever met. So I'm happy to send you a copy of this deck if you will give me your business card at the end of this. And I will also at the end be making a pitch for the Builder Benchmark Groups. If you guys aren't familiar with those with EEBA, some of what we're going to get into is a product of those. And I'll also actually be making a pitch for this window product that you guys have not so surreptitiously on your tables. All right, let's dive in. I'll tell you a little bit more about Shelton Group and why I'm here and where all our data is coming from. To our knowledge, we are the country's leading marketing communications agency exclusively focused in the sustainability arena. And we exist for one reason and one reason only, and that is to create a market advantage for the organizations that are creating a sustainable, energy responsible future. So organizations like you guys. We work with a lot of big manufacturers, as well as some smaller NGOs, trade associations, et cetera. But our specific role is helping them gain that market advantage through the lens of sustainability. How we do it is that we survey Americans on an ongoing basis. What you see here are our 3 branded studies. We are in the field with these almost every year. B2B Pulse is like an every other year thing, but we also do some special topic polling. So 3 to 5 times a year, we are gathering insights to understand what do people expect and what do they believe related to energy in the environment. And then how does that translate into the brands they prefer, the products they buy, the places they want to work, et cetera. So we're going to unpack some of that today. So I wanted you to understand these are our trending studies that we've been doing for 15 years now, plus or minus 3% margin of error, statistically significant, representative sample of the US population. While knowing some stuff is cool, doing something with it is a whole lot cooler. So the whole idea here is not just to load you up with some knowledge, it's to give you something that you can do something with. So, okay, how do you take what we're going to talk about today and then craft marketing strategies that will build your brand, help you shift perceptions, help you drive sales, and then also marketing campaigns that help you do the same. So that is us. Let's go back. How many of y'all have heard me speak before? Okay, a few of you, and there may be some out there in interweb land. Okay, so you've heard me speak a little bit about this ongoing trend, and it's important to revisit it because I feel like we need to contextualize what's happening in our country around sustainability. And what's happening in our country around sustainability is it's becoming a more and more mainstream expectation. In fact, 42% of us today want to be seen as someone who buys eco-friendly products. If you look over the last 15 years, that number has been going up in a steady upward right direction. It has slowed a little bit in the last few years. We've seen a lot of our numbers slow as a result of the pandemic though. But this number didn't go backwards. That's what's interesting. The number was 41% pre-pandemic, and now it's 42% in the middle of the pandemic, which is basically the same number from a statistical perspective. But so the pandemic couldn't stop this train. It may have slowed it down a little bit, but it didn't send it backwards. And what I want you to get is the way this question is languaged, it's not about, do people think green products are good? Do they think companies should make them? It's about, how do I want to be seen? How do I want people to judge me? The whole concept of branding is that I can go buy a product and it says something about me. I can project an image to the world based on the brands I wear, or the brands I buy, the brands I drive, the brands I live in. And so we're seeing that continuously people want to be seen as someone who is that eco-friendly person. It's part of their personal badge of honor. Now, it's not just how do they want to be seen. We actually are seeing them putting their wallets where their values are. So let me unpack this slide for you. It's a 2-part question. First part is, can you think of a time when you have purchased or not purchased a product based on a company's environmental or social record? Have you purchased or not purchased based on the company's environmental or social record. For everybody that says yes, and a lot of people say yes, right? Because that's the socially desirable answer. We want to be that person. So everybody that says yes, we go, great, name the brand. And then you can see from 2009 to 2014, the math kind of fell apart, right? Like we got 6 to 7% who were like, not Exxon, so that's where we were for a while. And then in 2015, we saw our numbers spike so much that we thought we had like a glitch in our data, but then they went up again and then down and then up and then down. So it's kind of like a sideways stock market chart, if you will. Today where we sit is that 26%, and this is as of December and January. So in the middle of the pandemic, 26% of us can cough up an example of a brand unaided that we have purchased based on their environmental or social record. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, you just told me 42% want to be seen as someone who's buying eco-friendly products, but now only 26% could give an example. Yes. Anybody here ever started an exercise program, right? So you often have the intention first, I'm going to be that person. And then it takes a little while for your actions to catch up. So we see these numbers kind of track together over time. This up, down, both of those numbers sort of go together because we have the intention and then the action begins to catch up. But why I'm bringing this up is because I want to ground you in this idea that people are increasingly putting their wallets where their values are, but it's about the visual cues. If we think about the things we buy that reflect on us, our homes are like the biggest thing we buy that reflects our values. So for you all to understand, not for all buyers, some buyers want a very traditional looking home, but some buyers are going to want a home that makes a statement about them. They're going to want this kind of conspicuous consumption. Look at what an awesome person I am. I am saving the planet every minute of every day. Again, not everybody wants to be that way, but some do. That 42% that want to be seen as someone who's buying eco-friendly products, that's how they want to be seen. Now, all that said, you should know that the environmental aspect of a home falls apart a little bit because most Americans don't understand how their homes have an impact on the environment. Specifically, only 4% of us actually name our homes, buildings, or electricity production as a leading cause of climate change. And it's the number 2. The energy production, electricity production is the number 2 cause of climate change in this country, followed by transportation. And for many years, electricity was number 1. Because we've gotten greener on the grid, it's now number 2. But only 4% of us get that. And I know this is a depressing stat, and we've been asking this for 15 years and the number hasn't budged, which is kind of shocking because you think, well, man, there's so much more press on this, but it goes back to mindset. We can't conceive of ourselves as people that are living life in a way that's bad for the environment. We like 86% of us think we all have a moral obligation to do the right thing for the environment. And so we conceptualize ourselves that way. And so we can't imagine that we're doing anything bad for the environment. I'll give you a good example of this. When we ask people, what's the more environmentally friendly way to heat your home, electricity or natural gas? What do you think the answer is? It's whatever they're currently using. And they don't respond like that, but like we ask another question, how are you heating your home? Electricity or natural gas or whatever. And so when you cross-tab the data, you go, oh, look, everybody that heats with electricity thinks that's the more environmentally friendly way, and everybody that heats with natural gas thinks that's the more environmentally friendly way. So we just can't conceive of ourselves as people who are actively damaging the planet. So trying to go at most Americans with this idea of, hey, a high-performance home is really great for the planet on the front end is not your winning value proposition. However, we're going to see as we go through this presentation today that it actually can do some good for you towards the back end of the build process. We'll go there more in a minute. All right. Because we don't conceptualize our homes as being something that's damaging to the planet, about half of us admit we've done little or nothing to improve the energy efficiency of our homes. And these are the ones that admit it, y'all. I mean, this is the socially desirable answer, is to say, oh, of course, I've made some energy efficient improvements, right? So it's probably a much bigger number, and 47% are willing to admit it. All right, so at a national level, what really matters? So pre-COVID and in the midst of COVID, we have consistently seen that there are 2 drivers that really, really matter. And the first one is health. It was already becoming an important driver pre-COVID. 72% pre-COVID believed their house had a moderate to strong impact on their health. 60% had been at least moderately concerned about indoor air quality, and 51% said it was important to upgrade the air ventilation systems in their homes. Now, once we got into COVID, what we started to see is, as we asked, like, what are you most concerned about? We saw people say, I'm really concerned about people. I'm really concerned about the health and well-being of people and communities. And that was sort of new. Pre-COVID, we were seeing a lot more concern around the planet, the environment, and now it is very much shifted to people. And in the midst of COVID, we're seeing that 18% of us are actually more concerned about indoor air quality than we were pre-pandemic. And remember, 60% of us were already somewhat concerned about indoor air quality before the pandemic. So 18% of us now say, I'm more concerned. I can also tell you in campaigns that my company is running, we see that health gets the most engagement and click-throughs. We're running a campaign for the resilient floor covering industry. I know that sounds really exciting. It's like luxury vinyl tile, cork, all that sort of stuff. So it's a campaign to tell their sustainability story. It's called Beautifully Responsible. And we're running 3 different messages. And the one around living well, which is the health message, it outperforms the one around durability by a factor of 2, and it outperforms eco-friendly manufacturing by a factor of 3. So this idea of health, that's compelling. People are like, hell yeah, I want a healthy home. It's a mama bear response, man. I want to protect my babies, you know? I don't want them breathing in nasty stuff. So health is a really important driver pre-pandemic and in the midst of pandemic, certainly. All right, the other one is comfort. And in our analysis, control is sort of mixed in there with comfort, because that you feel out of control if you walk from one room to another and it feels different, right? It just like, why can't I make that be the same? Like you feel out of control. So comfort and control are sort of cousins mixed in there together. Anybody familiar with the Home Improvement Research Institute? HIRI. Yep. So this is home improvement, not new build, but I think we can learn something from that. They fielded a study in late 2020. And of course, you all know this, that people are most engaged in home improvement activities within a year of buying a home. So by the way, if you all want to sell people more things, hit them up within a year of buying your home. But the interesting thing here is that while beautifying or freshening up the home is still the top reason for undertaking projects, there was a significant increase in those who wanted more space in their home to be more comfortable. So comfort definitely rose as a driver for home improvement during the pandemic, and their report goes on to make the prediction that making the home more comfortable is a common driver, and if we're going to continue working from home and remote learning arrangements, comfort will become increasingly critical. So comfort and health. All right, so that's the general trend. That's sort of the context and the backdrop. What about the people buying high performance homes? So I'm going to give you all a high level based on something that we have launched with EEBA called WNDO. So the impetus for WNDO was twofold. First off, we know that high performance homes are different. There are construction methods, there are features that you guys bake into these homes that aren't in standard homes. So if you go out and try to use some sort of survey mechanism, and there are a bunch of them out there that work with standard homes, well, then you're missing asking about all kinds of things that you guys do differently. So there wasn't really any kind of survey out there asking high performance home buyers, like, hey, why did you buy? What features matter to you? What benefits matter to you? How is the process going along the way? Gene Myers also told me on several occasions, you know, when we see somebody at the end of the build and we do a customer satisfaction survey and we see that somebody's not happy, we know they didn't just get unhappy. They got unhappy somewhere along the way, and we need to better understand where that happened. So we set out to build a survey platform that would help high performance builders improve their products, the home buyer experience, and their own bottom lines. Because if you understand what matters to them, y'all, I mean, there may be things that you could actually cut out of the construction process. Like maybe there are things you're doing that cost you a lot of money or a lot of time that really don't matter to your consumer. Or maybe there's some things you're not doing that you really should be doing. And I'll, spoiler alert, communication is one of those things. So there's a lot you can learn about what matters to them, which will then shape your processes. It will shape your building, and it will allow you to have happier customers and make more money. So here is how this works. I should also say, we just launched this a year ago. How long does it take to build a house? About a year, right? So we have a lot of data on the front end and not as much data on the back end. So I'm going to show you some stuff that's pretty directional. So we're still early days. How this works is we survey people 6 times. Like immediately on the front end, we survey, and we actually call it survey 0 because we're trying to just get some demographic information from them, understand a little bit more about who they are. And then we survey them right when they sign the contract, at some point during construction. So it might be the drywall walkthrough. It's a little bit different depending on the builder. And then at orientation, at move-in, and 6 months after they've been living in the house. So what we're seeking to understand is who are they, why do they buy, how are they searching for the home that they're buying, what features and benefits matter most, and what's their experience and how happy are they along the way. Now, for builders that are participating in this, that all of them are currently in what's called the EEBA Builder Benchmark Group. Anybody heard of the EEBA Builder Benchmark Group? All right, a few of y'all. So it's a group of like-minded builders that get together on a regular basis and they share ideas, they share concerns, they help each other solve their problems. And so the idea is we're going to gather all this data about each of these individual builders and we're going to compare them against each other. So today y'all aren't going to get to see the comparison against each other because that's special for the Builder Benchmark Group members, but I'm going to give you a high level on just a aggregate of what we're learning. All right, here's the bit about, we're still early. So as of August 26th, our survey 0 had 89 participants, survey 1 had 64, survey 2 had 26, and then on down. So as we get to the end of the process, you're gonna see very directional data. So I don't want y'all to hold me to it. I just want you to look at it for some clues and go, ooh, that could be a thing we should pay attention to. But I'll come back in a year and update you with more numbers and we'll see how we're doing then. All right, so here's what we're learning. Couple of key insights. There are two distinct buyers, and I mean, demographically, there are two very different kinds of people, but there is a central driver that is common to both. How many builders do I have in the room? Are y'all seeing two different kinds of buyers? Does this resonate with you? All right, here's what they look like in our surveys. We haven't named them yet, but the top group is sort of older. 59% of them have no kids under 18 living in the home with them. 79% are in 1 to 2 person households. 70% of them are over the age of 50. In fact, 23% are over the age of 65. They're reasonably educated, reasonable household income. By the way, the 39% that make over 100 grand, it doesn't mean that we've got 61% that make less than that. We had like 27% refused to answer the question. So that probably means they make a lot of money. So you can assume they're fairly affluent. They found their builder through driving by the community or touring a home through an online search or a referral. And 59% of them spend less than 3 hours on social media per week. I'm going to say that again. 59% spend less than 3 hours on social media per week. So that's not really how you're going to reach them. You're going to reach them with some of the old-fashioned mechanisms. I mean, they're going to do a Google search, but they're going to come have a 3D experience with you. They want to come in and talk to you and experience the home. Now, the next group is a little bit younger. 41% of these folks do have kids under 18 living with them. And in fact, 68% have 4 or more people in the home. 77% of them are between 30 and 44 years old. So they're millennials. And in fact, 35% are aged 30 to 34. So they are first-time buyers or maybe second-time buyers, but they're young and they're new to the experience and excited and probably have a lot of high demand because this is all brand new to them. They're pretty well educated, very well educated actually, and affluent. And again, also found the builder through drive-by community, driving by the community or the home, an online search or referral. So that's what's interesting is they're searching very similar ways. Now with the younger group, they are participating in social media a lot more. So they will see your messages there. They will respond to your messages there. They are searching a little bit more digitally, but both of these groups need to tour the home. And our assumption on this is just, it is a 3D experience. You're talking about something you're going to live in. So people want to go experience what's that like. All right, let me give you a little bit more on how are they searching. So when they're doing Google searches, they're typing in like specific locations. They're typing in new construction, new home, new. They're typing in a specific builder name, bungalow, other. So what they're not typing in is high performance home or green home or energy efficient home. So that's really important to know. That's something that we're interpreting from the data. They learn as they get into it because it is important to them. Once they've signed on with you guys, it does matter to them, but it's not where they start their journey necessarily. All right, so here's a little bit more of a breakout on how they're finding you. So 30% drove by a model home, 29% drove by your community, 25% were referred by a friend. And I'm going to come back to this referral thing because I think there's a key opportunity for y'all to actively ask for referrals. And maybe you're already doing it, but I want to point it out just in case. And then that general online search. And then the other is things like a realtor, previous experience, living in a home of this builder, some sort of advertisement, and then really specific granular things about, how they knew somebody who knew somebody. So that's how they're going at it. How's this resonating? Is this your experience as well? Or are y'all seeing something different? Yeah. Yep. Got it. So for all the folks online, what we heard is that there's a builder who builds just a few homes and people know them for that. So they come to them because they want a net zero energy home. And I could totally see that. If you're building a small number, that's who you are. And they come to you because they want that net zero energy home. But when you're thinking about like kind of the broader consumer that you want to reach, if you're building 100, 200, 300 homes a year, very few of them are going to seek you out because of your net zero energy. They're going to seek you out because they've heard great things about you. They love how the homes look. Y'all, we can't discount that enough, that beauty does still matter. So you can't have high performance at the expense of aesthetics. It's got to be beautiful. And then once they learn all about the high performance aspects, then that will sway them to buy from you versus another builder who is also building a beautiful home. You should also know that 56% say they are buying a newly built home for the first time. I will tell you that was actually lower than I thought it would be. We'll see how this number changes over time as we get more data. But you should know, for all of you working with these folks, they have no idea what to expect. They have never done this before. So it's up to you to manage their expectations. And as we're going to see in a minute, that's where we're having some challenges. Now, they're different buyers, but what holds them together is health, like we talked about earlier. So boy, they really appreciate that about your homes. It may not be the thing that drove them to you to begin with, but once they understand it, it's a reason that they buy. This is a great quote from one of our open ends. My wife has respiratory problems. This is our 6th new home, but the air quality is already noticeable, the best. This is 6 months after they moved in. The basement floor is the most comfortable I have felt. So they love the health aspects. In fact, let me give you some pretty big stats. 81% of this group that are buying the high performance homes feel that a house has a strong or very strong impact on an individual's health. And remember, that was only 72% for the general American population. But this is the money slide right here. 60% of people buying high performance homes say they are allergic to dust or have pollen allergies, which compares to only 15% of the general population. So 60%. So y'all, you can draw a direct line to your marketing. I mean, man, you ought to be serving up ads and sponsored content on, any searches that anybody is doing on allergies or how to manage asthma, like where they're reading about it, where they're searching for products. That's where you ought to be putting your ads and your content, because they may not even be aware, oh, I can buy a home that will help me with this. And you need to make sure you can make them aware. Now, from a food allergy standpoint, they're on par with the general population. 12% of these actual buyers say they're allergic to any food, and that compares to about 10% of the American population. But the reason we put both of them up there is that 52% of the people that had either like a pollen allergy or asthma allergy and a food allergy, half of them say they consider those allergies when choosing to buy a new high performance home. So again, they may not know that that's a thing. So they come to you, and you're not the only one they come to. They look at other builders too. And then when you start telling them this story about health, they go, oh my God, really? That's awesome. Now, I think you can work this to your advantage, again, with more advertising that tries to pull them in for that reason. You need both. You need to have the general population come to you because they think your homes are beautiful. And then you tell them the health story and they go, oh my gosh, that really resonates. But then you can also pull some people in that might not know that they actually could buy a healthier home. 82% of the buyers of these high performance homes are at least moderately concerned about the indoor air quality of their new home. And that compares to 53% of the general population. So again, these folks are wired for that health message. And again, here's how that 82% breaks out. So even if allergies aren't an issue, indoor air quality is still a concern. So you don't have to just reach people that have allergies. Like for almost all of them, like, wow, the idea that the indoor air quality is going to be better is a real winning approach for them. Now, while most have the same level of concern about indoor air quality that they did a year ago, so before the pandemic, 39% are more concerned about it now during the pandemic compared to just 24% of the American general population. So they're wired for health. That's the takeaway here. So what this means, and I sort of said this earlier, you need a digital targeting strategy that reaches both types of consumers. So you want to contextually target people serving up ads when they're looking for allergy and asthma information and products. You want to serve up sponsored content where people are reading about health issues. So pull these people to you because they're right buyers for you. We think that you want to promote those experiential 3D approaches, like get them in your homes, but then use 2D approaches as support tools. So get them in your home, but then serve them up videos to remind them of how beautiful it is and how great it is. So get them that visceral experience and then kind of reinforce what an awesome experience it was through videos and photos as follow-up tools. And you've got to lay out the whole process for folks. Most of them have never built a home before. So you really need to lay out, this is how it goes, and this is how, this is what you can expect. All right, the second big insight here is that they're not buying just because the homes are high performance, but high performance is a key piece of the value proposition that you need to deliver on. So I'm going to start getting into really detailed graphs, and I apologize in advance. They're not as crisp and clear up here as I would like. So I'm going to try to narrate them as we go. All right. At the beginning, when they first sign up, they've said, yes, I'm going to buy this high performance home. We ask them what matters. And so these are sort of features and a little bit of benefit in there. And you see, for all this talk about healthy indoor air quality, it's actually 5th on the list. So indoor air quality matters, but quality of workmanship, quality of the building materials, value, and layout and square footage matter more. So you can't give up. You can't expect them to make the trade-off of the other things that we know matter when anybody builds or buys a home. They want it to be beautiful. They want it to have the right layout. They want to have the right square footage. They want to make sure it's a quality built home. All that stuff still matters. So they want that, and they want the indoor air quality as well. I thought it was interesting that smart home technology was at the very bottom of the list. That surprised me. I didn't expect it to be at the top of the list, but I didn't expect it to be at the very bottom either. Does that surprise any of y'all? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I expect maybe that will change over time. All right, most important benefits though, again, it comes back to health, comes back to control, it comes back to family flow. So preventing moisture problems that can contribute to mold and attract pests, that's at the top of the list. Smaller utility bills, again, the right floor plan, provides fresh air ventilation that improves indoor air quality, and a better airflow that provides a consistent, comfortable temperature. So again, it comes that the features, hey man, it's got to be quality. It's got to have the right square footage. It's got to have the right layout. All that matters. But in the end, the benefits are, boy, it's got to promote my health. It's got to give me control and comfort. All that still matters with these buyers. Now at the end, that's what matters to them on the front end. They've just signed up. They've signed the contract and said, I'm in. And that's what they think is most important to them. So then the question is, well, how satisfied are they with those things on the back end? So right as they're closing on the house, and then 6 months after they've lived in the house. Now, again, we only have a few people that have gone through the whole process. So this is directional. You can't really look at it as hard and fast data yet. A year from now, we'll be able to look at it as hard and fast data. So on quality of workmanship, that's the top one on here. We see that there's about a 33% gap between how important that was and then how satisfied they are with what they get. So that's a bit of a problem. We need to make sure that they're experiencing the benefit of that and that they're seeing it. We hear a lot of comments on open ends like, hey, I toured the house and I saw, bowed 2x4s, and I didn't feel like the builder was as concerned about it as I was. So they want to know that you're concerned about it. They want to know that quality of workmanship matters to you and that you're delivering on that. So that's a gap we want to fill. Value of the home for the price paid, there's a little bit of a gap there. Maybe we'll see that change as we get more data in here, but customer service connection with the salesperson, that's a biggie, y'all. And we're going to get into this a little bit more here in a minute. Gosh, they come in with really high expectations about how they're going to be communicated with and how accessible their customer service rep is going to be. And they're often being disappointed. So that's an area that many of the builders can improve on. Now, they were actually more satisfied with the location and convenience on the back end after move-in than they were on the front end. And look at environmentally friendly construction at the end. They are much more satisfied with that than it was important on the front end, if that makes sense. So the way we interpret this is on the front end, they're thinking about all the other things, man. They're thinking about the square footage and the number of bedrooms and how pretty is it and the finishes. They're not really thinking about environmental impact. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is real. They have so many other things they're trying to make decisions on. They can't think about the environmental impact. But on the back end, after all those decisions have been made and they've moved in, now they start to feel really good about it. Because remember my earlier stat that 42% of us want to be seen as someone who buys eco-friendly products. So now that they're in the home, they get to go, I feel really great about the fact that this has a low environmental impact. So that's something that you don't want to message so much on the front end, but as they go through the process and you want to keep your net promoter score high, start to talk about the environmental impact as you get towards the end of the build. Hey, we've come to the other side of this. We've figured out all the finishes. You've got this awesome home that's quality built. We've got a great relationship. And you know what? You're an awesome human because you're living in a home that has low environmental impact. Start feeding that to them as a way to reinforce what a smart decision it was for them to buy your home. All right, so let's look at comparison on benefits. at closing. So now they haven't lived in the house, it's at closing. And again, we see a bit of a gap on smaller utility bills. It could just be because they haven't had a chance to experience any utility bills, but that was an important, that was a top 4 driver for them. And we've got some concern about, I don't know if that's going to be delivered on or not. So that's something you might want to message around as they're moving in. If they kind of have that knot in their stomach about, well, this is one of the reasons I buy it, and I don't know if I'm going to get that, figure out how you can give them energy guarantees, figure out how you can help them program everything in the home to create the maximum value with their energy bills. So talk about that as they are closing. Talk about how they're gonna realize those savings and what you're gonna do to help them realize those savings. This idea, the benefit that a smart home saves them energy and provides control. Again, they just don't feel like they've had an experience of it. They only closed on the house. They haven't lived in it yet. So they're a little nervous about that. So those are 2 messaging points at closing that you want to go to. Man, here's how you're going to be in control. Here's how you're going to manage your energy bills. Here's how you're going to be the boss of your energy bill. Let us talk you through how to program it, how to set it up. Again, if you can offer an energy guarantee, that would be fantastic at that point to bring it up. Again, lighter environmental impact really pops here. Finishes and sealants are certified for low chemical and particle emissions. Again, these environmental benefits are things they just can't or won't think about on the front end, but on the back end, then they start to feel really good about that. So at closing and at follow-up, remind them of that. Wow, you're living in a home that's not only great for your family because it's got awesome air quality, it's got such a low environmental impact. There are no toxins. Like, we didn't harm the environment in the making of this house. You can feel like an awesome human for it. All right, then let's look at the benefits at the very beginning when they sign the contract versus after they've moved in. And again, we continue to see some of the same gaps, but some new ones here. So this is 6 months after they've moved in. And again, very early data. So this could totally change after we get more people in here. But it's a little nerve-wracking for me that this idea of preventing moisture problems that can contribute to mold and attract pests, that 6 months in, they don't see that that's happening. So you want to make sure it actually is happening. And again, that's a messaging point because it matters to them. That's one of the reasons they bought. It was important to them on the front end. So you want to message to them about here's how that's happening for you, because that's a hard thing for them to see. Like, I mean, how would I know that the home is preventing moisture problems? If I don't see any moisture problems, I guess I know, okay, well, it's doing a good job. But I think you might want to message it because it's something hard to see and get their heads around. Again, smaller utility bills, that's a thing you want to continue to message around because it's important to them. And lighter environmental footprint. Again, that's a nice benefit. It's a perk for them in the back end. So you want to talk to them about that. Now, let's talk about how they feel about the process. So that's how they feel about the build, the benefits, what matters to them. Let's talk about the customer service aspects of this and the communication aspects. So are you guys, well, this isn't really Net Promoter Score. This is a scale of 1 to 10. How excited do you feel versus upset and dreading do you feel? How stressed do you feel versus not stressed do you feel? How confident versus incompetent do you feel? Informed versus uninformed, delighted versus freaked out, right? So that scales, and we ask people to plot how they're feeling as they go through each phase of the process. And so what you see is in the construction phase, so this is the drywall walkthrough, that's where all the numbers dip. They start to feel less excited. They feel more stressed. They're shaky, like, I don't know if this is going so well. And that's when they feel the least informed and the least delighted, except 6 months after they move in the home. Is this what you would expect? Would you expect to see all those emotions drop so much 6 months after they move into the home? Is it just they've moved in and like moved on? Like, so, okay, it was great. Check the box. I've moved on now. So I just don't really feel anything. I don't know. We're not quite sure how to interpret that one. But I think the takeaway for you guys is that the construction process, that's when they're vulnerable. That's when they might post something on social media that's less than flattering. That's when they might be calling your customer service reps going, okay, make me feel better because I'm nervous. So you want to get in front of that. You want to know that they're likely to start feeling angsty at that drywall walkthrough. And that's when you really want to amp up your communication. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Net Promoter Scores. Net Promoter Score is basically a fancy way of saying how willing are you to recommend X product, or in this case, X builder. And it actually goes from a negative 100 to a positive 100. That's how the scale works. So what you see is the Net Promoter Score drops pretty dramatically at that construction phase, which again is typically the drywall walkthrough. And it's its highest, like right when they sign the contract and they're about to move in. So when should you be asking for them to post something nice about you on social media? And when should you be asking for the referral? when they are closing and they're about to move in. You want to hit them up then. Don't hit them up 6 months after. Don't hit them up in the middle of the process. For the love of God, don't hit them up in the middle of the process. Hit them up right as they're about to move in. That's when they're the happiest. They're so excited. Oh my God, we've come to the other side of this thing. It looks like I imagine. I'm so excited. I can't wait to live in it. That's when you want to get their referrals and you want to get their great quotes on social media. All right, communication. Yeah, sorry, my R cut off there. So communication is both a satisfier and a dissatisfier. So from a satisfy perspective, in survey 2, we hear things, and survey 2 again is that construction, it's the drywall walkthrough. We hear things like the weekly updates are great. The initial walkthrough with X Builder was very helpful and makes my home finally feel real. They are communicative and friendly. They ensure I'm staying in the loop on the goals for each week. So this is interesting to me. This tells me that this builder that these people are talking about, they're doing weekly updates with the customer and that they have goals each week that they're sharing with the customer. And that's resonating with these customers. Like, okay, I get the plan for the week. I'm in, I really appreciate you communicating about it. And I really like this last one. Their communication during the process was excellent. This is at survey 4, which is right at closing. They're about to move in. They kept me up to date. They told me what was going on, including challenges, and made me feel included in the entire process. So I think there is a human tendency to run away from challenges. Ooh, that's not good, so let's just not talk about it. But actually what we see, not just here, but in lots of other survey work we do, people want to know about the challenges. If you come forward to say, okay, we've got an issue, here are 3 options on how we can deal with it, it takes away stress for people, because they're particularly at the drywall phase, they're sitting over there waiting on the other shoe to drop. They've never done this before. It's the most money they've ever spent. They're kind of freaked out about, is something going to happen that I can't see, or I don't know, and I can't anticipate. So they're sort of worried the boogeyman is going to jump out and get them. You want to let them know, hey, okay, we have a challenge. So it's like you're taking away that fear now. Okay, we have the challenge and you have some answers and you're going to involve me in the solution on it. Now, communication, if it's not done well, is a total dissatisfier, y'all. So people that rank themselves as pretty unsatisfied, they're low on those scales I was sharing with you earlier. They say things like, man, I'm unsatisfied because I've had lack of contact with the builder. They've had poor follow through. When I try calling or leaving messages, it takes a long time to get a response if I ever do. That's in survey 1. That's early on in the process. That's like right after they've signed the contract. So things should still be pretty good then. So it tells you've got to make sure you've got customer service reps that are very responsive, they're proactively communicating, and then when somebody calls with a question, they're responding right away. In survey 2, somebody said, I ranked myself a little bit lower because I haven't had any updates recently. So they want ongoing updates. The constant excuses from the builder on delays, yet other buildings that started well after my construction are completed and people have moved in. I'm still waiting. I'm extremely frustrated. So again, that's a communication thing. If you're not communicating with them and managing their expectations, they're going to expect something different to be happening. I feel the process could have been less stressful with more planning and communication. There were times in the build it felt like we were the last ones to know about something that we should have known about weeks prior. Again, that's back to tell them about the challenges, tell them about the issues, tell them about the delays. Don't use it as an excuse. Just let them know, hey, we're having these challenges and here's a couple of ways that we recommend fixing it. What do you think? Great, we'll keep on moving. So proactive communication, I can't stress that enough. It's all over the survey data. The builders that are proactively communicating are getting high marks from their customers through the process. The builders that are not proactively communicating are getting low marks. So what this means is you want to ask for your referrals and social media quotes at closing. You don't want to do it early in the process. You want to do it at closing. You want to communicate more with customers throughout the process, but especially during that construction, that drywall phase in the middle. That's when they're most vulnerable and angsty. You want to increase the efforts to not only deliver on and showcase reduced utility bills, lower moisture, and better airflow promises. You want to message about that too. So like showcase it and then tell them the story about it. You want to shift communication like after the move in and at closing to talk about the environmental impact. I said this earlier, like remind them what an awesome choice they made and what a good human they are, and remind them that, their home is a way to play to that desire to want to be seen as someone who buys eco-friendly products. You don't want to talk about it that way in the beginning. You want to talk about it on the back end, and on the back end, encourage them to spread the word about that because it's a badge of honor for them. And it's a great way they can kind of set up your brand for their friends and family out there in the world. So what we're learning so far, and again, really early in the process, you guys, but what we're learning so far is that emotions are most positive at the point of contract and the point of move-in, but they decline during the construction phase and post move-in. And again, we've got some low numbers here, but that's what we're seeing right now. So that gives you some clues about where you need to be communicating to turn those emotions around. Most homeowners actually report that their expectations were met or exceeded. So despite the fact that we have some bumps in the road along the way, most people do come out the other side going, you know what, it was a good process. Your recommendation is lowest during the construction phase and highest at move-in. So you want to leverage that. The top 4 features on the front end that matter most to them: quality of workmanship, quality of building materials, value of the home for the price paid, layout, and square footage. And early results are showing that most owners were satisfied with these features following move-in, but not all of them. So keep this in mind, you guys, for all the awesome stuff you're doing on tighter building envelopes and indoor air quality and air exchangers and all the things that you've got to demonstrate. Here's what we're doing to ensure quality. Here's what we're doing to ensure value. Here's how we're doing an awesome layout and making sure you maximize your square footage. You've got to message that stuff too, even though maybe you feel like that's a little bit out of your wheelhouse as a high performance builder. Top 4 benefits that they care about are preventing moisture problems that can contribute to mold and attract pests, smaller utility bills or greater value, the right floor plan for my family's needs, and providing fresh air ventilation that improves indoor air quality. So those are the top 3 things that matter to them on the front end. So you want to make sure you keep messaging about that and you deliver on those things. Most people are satisfied on those things, but not all. So these are some benefits that do get realized over time. So you want to not wait on them to get realized over time. You want to get in there and start talking to them about, hey, here's how we're delivering on that. Here's how you can tell it. You know, maybe you give them some devices in their home so that they can constantly check on the moisture in their home or the improved indoor air quality. I have some of those in my home that I pretty obsessively check, and it's awesome. It's a great feeling to go, oh, look, I score a 91. That's great. I feel good about that. So you want to give them those tools so they can feel like, hey, it's working. Indoor air quality is very important, and most folks report high satisfaction levels with airflow and quality. So you're doing well there. Just don't only do well there. Do well there and on all the other things that matter too. And from the open-ended feedback, the most important aspect is constant, clear communication and follow-up from you guys. So you can build an awesome home, but if you're not communicating with them, particularly when they feel angsty, it's bad. It detracts from their experience with you, and you don't want to do that. All right, so some of you in this room are participating in the window survey. Some of you are not. So how would you like to be getting these insights specific to your customers? Here is how this works. You'll all have a flyer on it if you're interested in doing it. You pay $4,000 to get rolling. So that includes onboarding 5 customers to the system and getting you into the system. And then it's $150 per customer enrolled, or $130 a customer if you're a member of an EEBA Builder Benchmark Group. So that's the pricing for it. Your customers get those survey invitations to complete a total of the 6 surveys during their building process. We also give you like letters and emails that you can send, that your salespeople can send to remind them to participate. You have access to the scores in real time. So every builder participating has a dashboard, and you can see in real time, how am I doing? And that'll give you clues about, okay, who am I not doing well with, and who am I doing well with? And you can always see how you're scoring compared to the aggregate of all the other builders in the system. So that's the real power of this, you guys. And I'll be speaking at a luncheon on Thursday with the Builder Benchmark Group members there. The power in this is being able to see, where am I doing really poorly compared to other builders that are building these kinds of homes? Because I should go talk to some of those other builders and find out, what do they do? What are they doing at the drywall phase that I'm not doing? And they're getting better satisfaction results than I am. Or, wow, here's a place I'm really doing well at. I need to like document that and sell that to somebody. Like, I need to figure out how to be a good advisor to somebody based on this place where I'm doing really well. So the power of being able to benchmark yourself, I think is really a benefit of this program. So that's how it works. Anybody who's interested in it, you can talk to Aaron, Nancy, you can talk to me. It's out there. We would love to get more builders in, because the more data we have, the more we can really understand who are these buyers and what matters to them, and how can you run your marketing better. Now, if you want some free resources, there are some things out there, some work that we've done with the National Association of Realtors and the National Home Builders Association around home performance. So how can realtors talk to customers about home performance? How can builders talk to them about home performance? There's a great translator tool about what people say versus what they want. So it's free, it's out there. There's all kinds of tools you can avail yourself of. And then at Shelton Group, we send out a newsletter on an ongoing basis that talks about our latest insights. What are we seeing? Sometimes it's corporate sustainability oriented, but often it's also built environment oriented. So sign up and happy to shoot that to you. And then of course, shoot me an email if you're online, or give me your business card if you're here. I'll send you this deck. I'll let you know when the next free report is available for download. And talk to me. How did this land? What do you think? What questions do you have? What discussion can we have? I left time on purpose. Yes.
I was just wondering if there's any correlation or any data that correlates to the dip in construction scores. This data is relatively new. You mentioned that it's just a year or so old. Is there any correlation to COVID restrictions and workers and delays in schedules? Cycle times, for us have increased in the last year. Product delays with constant updates to the buyers of their home is just sitting, or buyer reselects of materials now that we have material shortages or back ordered items and things like that. Is there any correlation to those scores dipping during the construction phase that's just related to that, what we're going through? Absolutely.
When they dip, it's two things. We have lots of open ends. We ask people, rate how you're feeling on those scales, and then why did you rate yourself that way? So we have a lot of open ends, and the open ends on the I'm higher stressed, I'm less satisfied, I'm more angsty. It's all about the two things you said. I don't feel communicated with, I don't know what's happening, or there's all kinds of delays, there are cost overruns, which feels, if you don't handle the communication right, it feels like excuses. So it is very much those two things. Again, they would probably expect that there are some challenges if you handle that right on the front end. Hey, it's a new world in COVID. We can't, you've read about the supply chains. We can't always get all the materials we want when we want them. So we could experience some delays. We are going to keep you informed of those and give you options. Do you want to pick a different material? Do you want to try a different brand? We're going to give you those options along the way, but want to let you know we're going to experience some turbulence through this process because there are supply chains out there that I can't control. Tell them that on the front end and keep telling them that. So then it doesn't seem like an excuse if 6 months into the build, you're like, oh, well, yeah, I'm sorry, we got a 2-month delay. When they hear about that for the first time, then it feels like an excuse. So that's a correlation. And then again, just that lack of communication. We hear over and over on the people that are less satisfied at that point. I'm not hearing from my builder. He's not getting back to me. I don't know what's going on. We also hear some workmanship issues. I went by the site and I saw 2x4s that don't look right, or I saw, they put the closet door in funny. I don't like how it opens, things like that. And they feel like they don't get heard when they bring it up, like, hey, this is a problem for me. And then nobody gets back to them. So if they have an issue, respond to them and then be proactively communicating about the bumps are going to happen along the way. It'd be awesome if you can even give, maybe some of y'all do this. It'd be great if you could give them a fun, your guide to the chaos of home building. That's not what you would call it, but something that's fun. It's kind of funny, a little bit tongue in cheek on the front end. Like, it's awesome that you signed on for this home, and here is the great experience you're going to have on the back end. And here are some things that are going to happen along the way. And we are going to lock arms and do this together all along the way. And it's going to be great. But I think just let them know, because conceptually people kind of know, but they need to hear it from you. Yes, we have a microphone for the people on the internet. Thank you. And Aaron needs to get in his steps anyway.
I'm interested in how concerned the builders that you've been working with are about that dip post move-in. I know a lot of builders say like they want to hand off like the HERS report and the green certificate for the home before closing, so they don't have to go back. And when they go back after the resident's in, they don't want to be asked to fix the light switch or the drywall or whatever. Like, are they just happy to be completely hands off at that point, or are they concerned about that dip in satisfaction?
I will ask y'all. So, some of you in this room are participating in this data that I just presented. How nervous are you about that dip 6 months after moving in?
Well, I was actually going to bring that part up anyways, because those numbers were really weird. We have our traditional survey company that we normally use, year-end survey, and that also coincides with our warranty process. So we finish our warranty process after 1 year. So I'm kind of wondering too, maybe the 6 month, they're kind of building up a little bit of like, well, I got all these things on my list still, which we as a builder, we will come back and take care of it because we do that for a full year. So that was one thing I was kind of thinking of.
And it's a big don't know. It's not very many people. That's another thing we should keep in mind. Like a year from now, I may come back and go, look, it looks totally different because we've got, hundreds more people in here now. But that is a question I have. Is 6 months a big difference than 12 months? It is harder to get people at 12 months to fill out a survey. It's hard to get them to keep doing surveys all along the way. So the further out you are and the more removed they are, the harder it is to get them to respond. So, but we'll be bringing these questions up with the participating builders to see what do they think, what are they seeing in it. So yeah, Stephen.
Oh, let's go here. If we don't
mind. Okay, sorry.
I'm already here.
And then you next, Stephen.
I don't need that many steps.
Fewer steps. I'm an architect, so maybe it's a different perspective, but the 6 month thing I think is interesting. A lot of projects I see will finish and owners need space and maybe a little bit testy, there's a lot going on for them. But then a year and a half or 2 years later, I'll get a call and they'll be very happy. And it's because they've been in the space, they've felt the space, and they can feel the quality of the qualitative aspects.
Yep. That's an excellent point. And it may be something that we want to try. I mean, the great thing about Window is it's pretty new and the builders that are participating in it right now get to help shape it. So it may be that we make a decision soon to go, so 6 months, let's see if we get a big difference if we go for a while doing 12 months. Let's see if we see a difference in the numbers. So yeah, good comment.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in from our perspective, similar deal with our previous survey provider. Things tended to look good 12 months out for the most part. And occasionally we'd see things actually look better because I think maybe just a little bit of distance it's a stressful event. I mean, it's a happy event, but it's a pain in the neck in a lot of ways. You've got moving, you've got disruption to your life. Yep. It's a high stress time. I think I'd want to have more than 7 surveys before I reached any conclusions.
Absolutely. Agreed. It's totally directional at this point.
I operate in the options world in the home building industry. And as I listen and think about supply chain management, you made something very clear that when we address the 60% of the 59 and 41% categories, they want to see a 3D image. So we hear a lot of talk and we're inundated with virtual and digital presentations that need to be made. So number one, how do we balance that? But I believe that they do want the 3D experience. So how do we balance those two? And the second question is, as a home building industry, we are moving more to quote packaged environments. And does that tend to take from this 59% category that has income, that wants the home that they want, they don't have children, that category segment, not to overlook the big 41% category. Those two thoughts, I just wanted to get your feeling.
So how do we, let me make sure I've got the question. How do we give them the ability to customize and also to experience, here's what this home is going to feel like, and I feel good about it. So that 3D experience. Well, so are you worried that you can't keep doing like in-home, like model home tours? Are you going totally virtual?
No, I'm worried that there has not been market competitive solutions in the home building industry versus what home buyers expect digitally. Can we show a home digitally? Can we show the options that go in it well digitally? And does that give them the 3D experience that they expect?
My preference based on the insight we think we're extracting from the numbers is because we see even young people wanting to go to the house, drive by the community. My preference is that you find a way to give them an actual in-person experience, but then you back that up with, virtual experiences. Like, so once they've been in it, then they can hold on to that and they may not need to go back to it. Then you could do things in a 2-dimensional environment. Is anybody using like virtual reality as a way of trying to show their homes? I have no idea if that would work, but we're seeing in other industries that's a thing that consumers are early adopters are beginning to embrace. So that might be a direction you could go in, that you could give someone the feel of being in a home through virtual reality. I will tell you, we came up with a campaign concept that never went anywhere. And the campaign was about trying to illustrate the feeling you get when you're in a highly energy efficient home. And so basically the concept is you've got a couple and they're clearly shopping for a home, and they go into the first home and they're like, wow, it's so beautiful. Look at this. And then these strange people like come up and like start sneezing in their face, and you know, like blowing hot air on them, and they can't really see the people. We can see them as the viewer, but the couple that's touring the home can't see them. And so that's the experience of, oh, a home that's not highly energy efficient. It feels like someone's sneezing in your face or blowing hot air on you. But then when they walk into the energy efficient home, they get sort of like carried around by gorgeous people in white flowing outfits, you know, so it's like this heavenly experience, right? So there is something about, and we see it all over the data, and you have heard it from your customers. You feel different in a high performance home. It literally feels different. You can feel the consistent temperature. The ambient noise is different. So I don't know how you give them that feeling without getting them in a home. I think once you have them in the home, then you can use all kinds of digital tools to help them pick parts of it. But man, I think they got to feel it. I could be wrong, but right now that's what I would say. So that's not the answer you wanted. I'm sorry. Yep. Any other questions or comments? It is about time for a drink. So we can cut 4 minutes early. And again, I'll just remind you, if you want me to send you a copy of this deck, give me your card. I'll be happy to send it to you. If you want to talk to us about getting engaged in WNDO, you can see me, you can see Aaron. We're happy to get you signed up.
The big takeaway is that we are opening WNDO up to any builder in the EEBA community. So previously it's been tested, kind of beta tested with our Builder Benchmark Group, but that is now an open opportunity for all of you. So I want to thank Suzanne Shelton. Always incredible to hear your insights, and
happy to do it.
Thanks so much on behalf of everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.